Happy birthday.
Oh, what's all the fuss about? Nobody bothered when I was 69. This is your way of telling me to resign, isn't it?
Oh, come on.
You're all a lot of parasites.
Look, Chairman, will you stop being so angry and have some champagne? Oh, we have another surprise for you. Miss Frisbee, will you bring it in?
Oh, more waste of money, I suppose.
Yes, of course.
Now, how long are we going on with this? When we get back to
Many happy returns, Magnus.
Oh, to hell with it.
Oh, be happy, Magnus. You've got the fastest growing company in London. You've got a lovely young wife. What more do you want?
I want to be left alone. Don't think you're fooling me. You're all just waiting for me to die.
Here it is.
Oh, isn't it?
Good heavens, what on earth is there? He's a
Wait to see.
Oh, isn't it?
Wait and see.
Exciting.
What have we got here?
I think even you will enjoy this, Magnus.
Well, what the hell is it?
It's the Potter building.
Oh, it's shrunk a bit, hasn't it? Well, anyway, what's all this? What's it say? I can't read what it says.
Well, let me turn it around for you, Chairman. There. Now, can you read that?
Happy 70th birthday. Oh, isn't that nice? Go on, Magnus, cut it.
No, you cut it.
No, you cut it. It's your birthday.
Oh, all right. Here, take this. It's all a damn waste of time. I won't resign. I won't resign. I won't.
I think the chairman has just resigned.
Yes, well, that's one way to start a birthday party, with a bang. Welcome to Whodunnit. You've just seen a murder committed in 1952, 25 years ago, when the pound was worth 18 shillings or 90 pence. The common market was in Portobello Road, and This Is Your Life hadn't even started. Now, on this week's panel, we have a lady who loved thy neighbour longer than most of us, Kate Williams. And we have the old bloodhound himself, because he's back, the whodunit expert, Patrick Mower. And a gentleman who's always welcome on Whodunnit and no doubt will one day get it right, Alfred Marks. And our TV Times competition winner this week comes from Bradford. Will you welcome Mrs. Kathleen Wheatley? Now, let me remind the panel and you at home that the guilty party is allowed to lie. So let's see if you can spot the clues and find who done it. The chairman, Magnus Potter, has been murdered, shot by his own birthday cake. Now, let's go back to the action, and let me warn you now that it's sometime later, much later, and time can play tricks.
Inspector Stone, what is all this about?
That's right. What is it?
Well, sir, 25 years ago, your chairman, the late Sir Magnus Potter, was shot dead right here in this room.
Oh, no, not again.
My father, Detective Inspector Richard Stone, retired, was put on the case, but it was never solved.
We all know that. But what has that got to do with your asking us here today?
Ah, well, sir, as you know, the case was closed some years ago. Now, murder by person or persons unknown, sir. It says that right here on his file. Now, the case would have remained closed, but for the fact of an old Bentley that was sent in for scrap last week.
Magnus's old Bentley?
Yes. In the boot, and lodged under the spare tyre, there was a rusty old can of 16mm film. This can. Now, the film is old, and it's almost ruined by damp and rust, but it's usable, and we've had it transferred to videotape.
Well, I'll be damned.
Now, your chairman, the late Honourable Sir Magnus Potter, must have made this film just before he died. I'll play it for you, shall I?
Well, don't just all stand there. Sit down. First, I want
Stanley Williamson, my so-called managing director. Then Miss Frisbee, my so ambitious assistant. Then Travers, the company secretary and my wife's lover. Sit down, man. Opposite him, I want my devoted, faithful wife, Gertrude. You're a stupid woman. Too cold for me. Massey. Howard Massey, you sit last. Don't think I don't know what you're up to with the American division. You think you're going to be managing director, don't you? Never. I'm over my dead body. Which is why I've made this film. I want it shown should I be killed or die from unnatural causes. I want it known that all of you have reasons for wanting me dead. First, Williamson. It was I who stopped you from becoming chairman.
I hope he didn't bet on it.
Well, that's all there was. I think he intended to say more, but he left it for later. Too late.
Well, I never did like home movies.
Inspector, I didn't like Magnus Potter then. I like him even less now. I'm sure we all have other things to do.
Murdered by person or persons unknown. Now, I've read this file, and I've seen this film. And I'd like to ask you all some more questions.
Yes, why not? I'd enjoy hating him again. Let's all go back 25 years. How old were you, Inspector?
I was 11.
How charming you must have been.
Miss Frisbee, what time was the board meeting due to start?
10 o'clock in the morning was the usual time.
And when was the cake ordered?
I ordered the cake some weeks earlier. I remember I checked the letter in my files on the day of the board. It was 9:30. I had just arrived.
Here we are. Miss Frisbee?
No, Locker, put it on that trolley, would you?
Right.
Be very careful. It's a cake. It's a surprise for the chairman. But I think I'll lock it up for safety. And I remember I took Lockwood's only key. If Mr. Lockwood were here, he could verify all this.
We are trying to trace him. We have tracked down the boy. He lives in Canada with his wife and children. And he confirms carrying the parcel into your office with Mr. Lockwood.
Well, don't forget, Inspector, I took the only key to that door. And it was I who opened it after the board meeting to take the cake out.
And what time was that?
12:45.
And the lock?
It was a Yale lock, with a keyhole on the outside and an opening catch on the inside.
Mr. Massey, what time did you get to work that day?
Why don't you tell me, Inspector? You've got the file.
Yes, you say here,
Morning, Lockwood.
I arrived at the office at 9:45. I went straight to my office and then straight to the boardroom.
Good morning, Miss Frisbee. My, you're looking beautiful this morning. Is the old man in yet?
No, but he should be here any minute.
Good. I'll beat him to it.
Sir Stanley, what about the second letter to the Bakers?
Letter? What letter? Oh, wait a minute, yes. You're talking about the famous second letter written to Raymond's the Bakers. Well, I've always denied writing that letter.
Well, it is still on file, Sir Stanley, and we have had it photocopied. Perhaps you would like to see it again. Dear Sirs, Further to our order of June the 12th. As you may know, Thursday, July the 15th, will be the 70th birthday of our chairman, the Honourable Sir Magnus Potter. The icing on top of the cake must be the same colour as our trademark. We will also require a space 7 inches square by 1.5 inches deep. This space to be horizontal inside the cake to take a special surprise presentation for the chairman. I would be obliged if you would treat this matter as confidential. Yours sincerely, Stanley Williamson, Managing Director. Now you will notice, Sir Stanley, that the letter was unsigned.
Of course it was. I didn't write it.
Ah. But it was typed on your secretary's machine.
Right, welcome back to Whodunnit. Have you spotted any clues yet? No? Well, never mind. You've only missed a couple, and there are many more to come. Now, Magnus Potter was murdered in 1952. One of the top 20 songs around that time was, "If I'd known you were coming, I'd have baked a cake." But that's not a clue, however. It's just to show you that I've got a very good memory. Although, of course, I was very young at the time. Now, let's see if Inspector Tim Stone can rake up something from the past. I think he just might.
Hello. Yes, it is. Oh, good. Send him in. It's Lockwood. We found him, and he's coming in right now. Mr. Lockwood. My sergeant would have explained what all this is about, Mr. Lockwood. I'm glad we found you.
Shouldn't have been difficult. I'm now Chief Security Officer at Woodson's, across the road from here.
Good for you.
And now, Mr. Lockwood, I know it's difficult going back over 25 years, but I'd just like you to verify a few points that happened on the day of the murder. First of all, did you see Miss Frisbee, and at what time?
I was on the desk as usual at 9 o'clock. It was a normal morning. Miss Frisbee, Mr. Williamson, and Mr. Massey all arrived as usual, and then at about 9:30, the parcel arrived.
Special delivery from Raymond's.
Okay. We'll take it up together. This way. Here we are, Miss Frisbee.
No, Lockwood, put it on that trolley, would you?
Like this?
Oh, and be very careful. It's a cake. It's a surprise for the chairman. I think I'll lock it up for safety. Oh, I don't think I've got my storeroom key.
Oh, that's all right, miss. Here. You can have mine.
Ah, thank you. Oh, and Lockwood, would you take these files up to Mr. Williamson straight away, please?
Straight away, miss. Come on, lad.
And where did you go then?
The boy went down to reception and out, and I went straight on up to the top floor to Mr. Williamson. I mean, Sir Stanley.
And then?
Well, I was with Sir Stanley for about 15 minutes, and then I checked the storerooms on the top floor.
And what time did you get back to reception?
5 minutes to 10. That's when Sir Magnus arrived.
Good, good. Thank you very much, Mr. Lockwood. You have a very good memory. Please sit down. Now then, from photographs, we have reconstructed the cake. Now, it's not real, of course. It's made from papier-mâche. But the dimensions are exactly the same. Now, you will notice that the top is removable, thus revealing the cut-out portion which contained the murder weapon. Now, this was fitted with a magnetic solenoid, and any pressure on this plate closed an electrical circuit which triggered the device. It's very simple, very effective. Sir Stanley? You used to make these during the war, I believe.
Oh, very good, Inspector. Now, that was in that newspaper story about me, oh, I'd say about 10 years ago.
9.
Yes, well, I didn't mention it to your father at the time because it really is misleading. I did run a special devices section during the war. Nothing elaborate, just simple devices that could be made and used in the field. The cigar box solenoid was about the simplest. Any schoolboy could have made it.
You did not have any schoolboys on your board at the time, Sir Stanley.
No. But although I could have made it, how could I have got it inside the cake? It arrived at 9:30, went right into a room that was locked at 9:32, right up until Miss Frisbee took it out again at 12:45. Right, Inspector?
Yes, that is right, Sir Stanley, yes. Lady Potter, I understand that you and Mr. Travers were late for that meeting. I also understand that you brought a parcel of your own.
Yes, that's right, Inspector. Robert picked me up, and of course I was late, but I'll let Robert tell you.
Yes, I picked up Gertrude, Lady Potter, about 9:30. She was late, so I waited for her, and we arrived at, it would be about 10:05.
Good morning, Lockwood.
Morning, Lady Potter. Morning, Mr. Travers.
Good morning.
Oh, shall I take the parcel up for you, sir?
No, thank you. We can manage. It's just a present for the chairman.
Was in the parcel.
I remember it was a pair of crystal decanters ordered specially from Harrods.
Ah. Now, what happened to them?
They're still in Knightsbridge.
The decanters?
Oh, I see. Well, after the drama of the death of my husband, we forgot all about them until Lockwood here telephoned me to say they were locked in security. I believe that Mr. Travers collected them sometime later.
Mr. Lockwood, where were you between 10 o'clock and 12:45?
I was at the reception desk.
Can you prove that? And don't forget, you would have held a key to every office in the building.
No, I can't prove it, but then I don't need to, do I? It wouldn't have done me any good to get near that parcel because I didn't even know what was in it till Miss Frisbee told me that very morning. By that time, it would have been too late for me to make anything even as simple as this cigar box device. Oh, and also, Miss Frisbee had my only key.
But you could have switched parcels on the instructions of either Lady Potter or Mr. Travers.
Not possible. And also untrue. The boy had the parcel all the time.
Well, what about Miss Frisbee? She was alone with the parcel right up until the time of the board meeting.
Not true. I put that trolley in the storeroom while Mr. Lockwood and the boy were still there. And then...
I don't think I've got my storeroom key.
That's all right, miss. Here. You can have mine.
Oh, thank you, Lockwood. Oh, Lockwood, would you take these files up to Mr. Williamson straight away, please?
Straight away, miss. Come on, lad.
Yes, Mr. Williamson? I'll come right up.
Good morning, Miss Frisbee. My, you look beautiful this morning.
I was back just as Mr. Massey arrived at 9:45. There was no time for me to touch that parcel in any way.
Yes. However, we have been in contact with Raymond's the bakers, and there is no way that anyone there could have done it. So it has to be one of you. You know what I mean?
Well, there we are. A very bad case of industrial relations, or how to give your chairman the bullet. Was the cake switched? Who typed the letter? Who put the gun in the cake? Now, panel, we have our suspects here, so you can ask for one replay of any part of the action that you've just seen. and then you can ask your questions. Alfred, what would you like to see again?
Well, nothing really. The whole thing was too simple. It was the cake that done it.
Yes.
I want to see a replay of the kneading.
Yes, I'm speechless. Patrick, what would you like to see again?
Are you really not going to see anything?
No, I know it. It's too simple.
Oh, well, in that case, I was going to ask, I wouldn't mind having another look at the young 25-year-old Lady Potter, but if he's not going to see one, I'm not.
Copycat.
They're both abominably self-assured. All right. Yes, Kathy, what would you like to see again?
I'd like to see the letter that Williamson wrote to Raymond's the bakers.
The letter? Right. Kate?
I'd like to see the first scene where Lockwood is re-questioned after 25 years, where he gives the rundown on the arrivals in the office that morning.
So you shall. Right, it's question time. Question, Alfred.
Hello.
Hello.
I should be very severe. You realise that. Inspector Stone, you say that you found the film when an old Bentley went to scrap?
That is right, sir, yes.
Yes. Well, any man who sends a Bentley to scrap deserves to die. Recently, I was in a Rolls that was scrapped. That doesn't mean a thing to you, does it?
No, not a thing, sir.
No, north the General Theatre going public. There you are. Could anybody open that door with a bit of celluloid?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's funny you should say that, sir, because that is one of the avenues that my father looked at. They had a very famous Welsh detective on the case at the time called Celluloid. He tried to get the celluloid in. But the door was jammed in some funny sort of way, sir. No, generally yellow locks can be opened by that method, but not this one, sir, no.
It can't be.
No.
Thank you.
Patrick.
Lady Potter. Or may I call you Gert?
If you wish, yes.
You look very nice now, actually. I didn't mean anything about 25 years later.
It's very kind you think I was 25. I was, in fact, somewhat older.
Oh, were you really? You didn't seem to be very discreet with, in your affair with Mr. Travers. So it would seem that it wouldn't really matter whether your husband was dead or alive.
Well, I didn't think Magnus really cared, frankly, no. I think he sort of knew what was going on, really.
So if he, you didn't really have a motive then for bumping him off because you were behaving as you wanted to anyway?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Oh. Kathy, question?
Yes, Miss Fisby, what did you do with the key when you went up to Mr. Williamson's?
I put it in the pocket of my dress. I had a dress with a pocket in the side, and I put it in the pocket of the dress, and it was there all the time until I opened the door again.
And do you usually work on a Saturday?
Well, it depends, really. It depends what sort of work we have to do, and if there's any extra work, I come in and do it, yes. Usually Saturday mornings.
That was a very devious question.
It was a very good question. Yes, Kate.
Mr. Massey.
Mm-hmm.
What is the American division, or what did the American division of your company do at that time?
We manufacture automotive parts and equipment. Piston rings, anything to do with the actual engine parts. We have crankshafts and the lot.
Are you practically trained before you reached the level
Yes,
you
I
are?
had a mechanical engineering degree.
Thank you.
Yes, Patrick. Ready for the first replay? Now, the first replay is for Kathleen Wheatley. You wanted to see the letter that was sent to the bakers, typed in Williamson's office, but not signed by him, funnily enough. Here it is.
Dear sirs, further to our order of June the 12th. As you may know, Thursday, July the 15th, will be the 70th birthday of our chairman, the Honourable Sir Magnus Potter. The icing on top of the cake must be the same colour as our trademark. We will also require a space...
Right, does that solve it for you, Kathy?
Yes.
It does.
So if you didn't dictate it, Mr. Williamson, did you type it, Miss Fisby?
No, I was secretary to the chairman, Sir Magnus. I was not Mr. Williams' secretary at the time, no.
Yes? Is that all, Kathy?
Yes, thank you.
Yes? Patrick?
Yes, can I ask Mr. Lockwood, how many keys were there, in fact, to this storeroom?
There were only 2 keys to that particular storeroom, sir. Miss Frisbee had one and I had the duplicate.
I see. Can I also ask you, is there another entrance? Is the only way into the office block past the desk that you were at?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only open entrance. There is access to the building with locked fast doors.
How many floors up was the actual office where the storeroom was from the foyer?
On the third floor, sir.
Third floor. Yes. Thank you.
Male cat burglars, I think. Yes, Kate?
Yeah, Miss
No?
Frisbee.
Alfred?
Yes, the one who holds the clue to all this, of course, is the deceased. And if we'll all put our hands on the table, please, I'd like to ask him a question. Magnus Potter. What do you do with your old cigar boxes? Knock once for you. Oh, all right, never mind.
They are turned into guns. Here they are.
Yes, excellent.
I've seen it.
I smoked
Yes,
that brand myself.
yes. No, Kate.
Miss Frisbee. I thought that was something you chucked around in the park, actually, Frisbees. Those things that you keep coming back at you, aren't they? Never mind. You know what they are, don't you? Where did you normally keep your storeroom key?
I usually, I must say, carry it with me, but at the time my father was extremely ill and I was very worried. And I must have left it at home that day.
There's a very persistent buzzer going, which means that we're ready for the next replay. And this is yours, Kate. You wanted to see Lockwood's sudden appearance 25 years later, and yet his memory was still very good as far as arrival times are concerned. Here it is.
First of all, did you see Miss Frisbee, and at what time?
I was on the desk as usual at 9 o'clock. It was a normal morning. Miss Frisbee, Mr. Williamson, and Mr. Massey all arrived as usual, and then at about 9:30, the parcel arrived.
Special delivery from Raymond's.
Okay. We'll take it up together. This way.
Yes, Kate. No, Kate. Patrick.
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Travers, the suave Mr. Travers. You look and sound terribly English. Are you English?
Mostly.
Mostly? What isn't most?
My great-grandmother was a Granadan gypsy.
A Granadan gypsy. I see. You're company secretary? You are? Still?
No, assistant managing director now.
I see you've been promoted.
Yes.
And has your affair with Lady Potter changed its state?
Which affair was that?
Oh, you're not having an affair anymore?
Oh, that affair? Yes. No, it's very much as it was, I'm delighted to say. Yes.
Yeah.
Slower, but very much the same.
I'm very surprised to hear that. That's not what I've heard about Granadan gypsies. As far as I know, they never slow up. Oh, hey! Yes, Alfred.
Yes, a very interesting point was made, Miss Frisbee, about Frisbee being thrown around in parks. Have you ever been thrown around in a park?
Never.
Pity. Pity. You frequent the wrong parks. Why did you consider it was necessary to lock the cake away for safety, you said? Well, safe from whom? The mice?
We have no mice in the Potter building. No, it was simply that I didn't want Sir Magnus to see it on his way through to the boardroom meeting.
I see.
And once you shut the door, you lock it irrevocably. It's a Yale lock, you see.
Yes, I see. Thank you very much.
Yes, Patrick.
Well, I could just like to tell everyone who didn't do it, the inspector, because he was only 11, and Mr. Williamson, because, in fact, when the box was put down and the gun was facing this way, everybody else was on the other side of the box, but Mr. Williamson, in fact, didn't move away. He was very lucky not to get shot himself. So, did you work that out?
I also worked out, too, that the dimensions were wrong for the box. The letter said that they wanted 1.5 inches deep, in which case it would have had to lie flat and not upright. That worries me very much.
Yes.
You didn't know that, did you? I've just given you a clue, man. Idiot.
Why don't you keep stum?
I'm silly, aren't I? Sir, the gentleman who manufactures Sir Stanley Williamson, you said you have made these cigar box guns?
I have indeed.
Yes, by some strange coincidence, I have a cigar on my wife's birthday next week. I wonder if you could oblige me.
Kathy.
Mr. Lockwood, did you actually see Mr. Massey arrive?
Oh, yes,
that morning?
I did, madam. Yes,
and what time was it when you did arrive?
Well, it was some time before 9:30.
Before 9:30?
Yes.
Thank you.
Would that have been before Miss Frisbee?
No, I think Miss Frisbee arrived first, then Sir Stanley, and then Mr. Lockwood. But I definitely remember that they were all in the building before the cake was delivered, and that was delivered at 9:30.
Yes, Patrick.
May sound frivolous, but it's not. Inspector, you referred to the what did you say the cake was made of, your mock one?
Oh, it was made of paper and mache, sir, yes.
Papier mâche?
Yes, sir.
Did you, do you know how to spell papier mâche?
Oh, yes, sir, but I can't pronounce polystyrene, sir.
Yeah.
That's all.
Did it occur to you? Did it occur to you to check up on the spelling of any of the members of the board?
Oh, you are referring to the spelling in the letter, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Well, sir, it is an international company, sir. There are a number of continentals, transatlantics. There's even a smattering of...
I don't want you to say too much, because you might give it away to...
yes, sir. Right.
Yes, Kate?
Miss Frisbee, when you went in that morning, did you go directly to your office?
Yes, I did.
Alfred?
Yes, Mr. Lockwood. How old did you say that lad was when he delivered the cake?
Well, sir, he looked to be a nipper of 11 or 12, but I've thought about that, and he must have been at least 14, because he was working for a reputable firm, and
Yes.
he couldn't have employed anyone under.
Yes, and Inspector Stone, you said you were about the same age when this happened.
That is right, sir, yes.
See, that's brought a new complexion to the case, hasn't it? I mean,
Oh, well,
you
just
could
a
have
moment,
been a plainclothes errand boy, couldn't you?
Oh, well, sir, in fact...
the penchant of cakes.
Yes, yes, sir, you were about to say something, Inspector.
Well, I think Mr. Marks has forgotten, sir, that we actually did meet, sir, 25 years ago in 1952, because I was a guest with my father at the age of 11 at your 40th birthday party.
Oh, yes.
That's
There
not
we
as
have...
funny as the papier mâche.
Much funnier and touché, Inspector. Yes, Kathy.
Mr. Travers, the calendar that was there had the Queen on in 1952. Well, how did they print that calendar towards the end of 51, when she didn't come to the throne till 52?
Well, she wasn't actually crowned in that picture. She was more tiara'd, I would have said.
Yes, Patrick?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Lockwood, I think it might have been a red herring. You said that the boy, the choir messenger boy, was now in Canada, did you say?
I didn't say that, sir. No,
thought you...
the inspector did, I
Well, the
believe.
inspector did. Can I ask you then? He was in Canada.
That's right, sir.
Well, he wasn't a Canadian himself, the
No,
boy.
sir, no, he had emigrated, I believe, sir.
Yes.
In about 1960, I think. He had married and had children.
Thank you very much indeed. There, I'm afraid I must stop you, because time is up. Right, panel, I want you to write down on your cards who done it and any clues that you may have spotted. And while they're doing that, mind you, I'm presuming they can write, but for you at home, here's another chance to see a main clue again.
Good morning, Miss Frisbee. My, you look beautiful this morning.
Well, did you solve it at home? Well, let's see how the panel have done, shall we? Right, can I have your card, please, Kate? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have the cards, and nobody can change their minds. Right, panel, I will ask you individually, in turn, who done it and why? Alfred.
Undoubtedly, without any doubt at all, it is Miss Frisbee in collusion with Mr. Massey, who's going to take her to America and show her his ranch.
Yes? Is that all?
Well, the clue is, of course, that she's the only one that knew the date the cake was ordered. Nobody else knew it, therefore she must be responsible for the letter.
Yes, Patrick?
It's a bit right, not quite right. It was Mr. Massey. Spelling in the letter of collar, C-O-L-R-O-R, that's why I asked a question about the spelling. He went in earlier than he said he did, went into the storeroom, and I think he came out of the storeroom and not out of the entrance room when he was behind Miss Frisbee.
Rubbish.
Well, we'll see. Yes, Kathy.
Mr. Massey, and actually for the same reasons as Patrick's already told you.
Exactly the same reason?
Yes.
Oh. What a shame. Kate.
I think it's Mr. Massey too, for the same reasons, plus he turned the cake round and lined up the shot at the beginning.
Yes. I see. Well, that's what they think. Now, here will come a great surprise to you all. Thank you very much indeed for your endeavours. Will the real whodunit or dunnits please stand up?
On your feet, chum.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
Oh, yes, it was. Oh, it's back to Pango time. Yeah, well, there we are. Thank you. Well, congratulations to most of the panel. 3 out of 4.
Not all.
Alfred, not all. No, Alfred,
Well,
I'm afraid.
I got it half right.
You got it half right,
Well,
yes.
I'll have half my fee, £2.50. That'll be fine.
Miss Frisbee was in error.
No, you're not going to convince me. She's definitely been having it away with mess. No one's going to convince me otherwise.
Well, the rest of you did, but I can only give one prize away, and that, of course, must go to our guest, Kathy. You are entitled to have a prize, and your prize is you can take anything from the set that you like, as long as it isn't any
Yes,
individual.
please.
Yes, no, you can't have Patrick. So we'll discuss what you like later. All right? Many
thank you.
congratulations. Well done. It was indeed Howard Massey. Even if you were going to take a pot guess, how about Massey making sure that the cake was turned round the right way? Now, with those with good hearing, they might have noticed the difference in sound between slamming the office door room and the storeroom door. Massey actually arrived at 9:15 that morning. He went straight to Miss Frisbee's office and hid behind the door in the open storage room. Miss Frisbee put the cake inside the storage room at 9:32 and locked the door from the outside. Massey put the gun into the cake and rewrapped it by 9:45.
Good morning, Miss Frisbee.
He then opened the door and quickly slammed it, moving his hand to the nearby office door, giving Miss Frisbee the impression that he just arrived at 9:45. The clues? Well, only the Americans spell honourable and colour without the U, so he wrote the letter. Lockwood said that Massey arrived before 9:30, not at 9:45, as Massey had said. Did you get it? Well, never mind if you didn't. You have another chance next week when one of Britain's top scientists is killed in his laboratory. Is it cold-blooded murder, or is the British government merely trying to cut down the number of scientists on their payroll? So it's good night from our panel and cast. Oh, and one small tip. If your birthday is coming up in the near future, be advised, get somebody else to cut the cake first. Good night.